Mr. Scaffide?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Furey?
Here.
Mr. Bellan?
Here.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Here.
Next, let's join Mr. Bellan for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today to ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect all of our residents and our businesses and our dedicated city employees. Bless those away from us serving to protect our country. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next, the approval of the minutes from the February 12th, 2019 meeting. Anybody have any additions, corrections, anything else? Do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Mr. Bellan moves, motions. Any second?
Second.
Mr. Barr. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Bellan?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFearin?
Yes.
Mr. Furey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scaffide?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes. Next on the agenda is awards and presentations. Do we have any tonight?
There is none.
Okay, next up is audience participation.
First, we have Bob Hughes.
Good evening, Council, the Mayor. Bob Thews, 2229 Demi Drive in the Meadowood Plan. I really appreciate Councilman Furey's enlightening 1,000-foot flyover of the city's capital expenses over the last 20 years. In general, it's frightening how the funds of the city have been mismanaged by Council and the Mayor through three regimes. Going back to the golf course, which we may have some marginal justification for purchase, we as a cash-rich city chose to finance it and then refinance it, costing us at least triple what we originally paid for it. It continues to show a negative revenue stream. Then we gave $10 million to the school for the old school and the build of the fitness center, another marginal investment that has added to our cash bleed. Add another $1 million or so to the fitness center to get right what the $10 million did not get right, and $100,000 cost for the destruction of the old school, all outstanding costs that could have been avoided. You're not done. We then bought Liberty Park for $11 million when we were still cash rich and financed it, so we effectively paid $20 million. Is this a good use of taxpayer dollars? We gave most of the property away because it was totally useless. When Chrysler left, we lost 5,000 jobs, and we replaced it with less than 1,000. Not good. Even though we had significant cash reserves, we raised taxes for 4 years. Why not cut spending? Well, how can we when we're adding employees for the fitness center, Liberty Park maintenance, and golf course? Finally, this mayor and council decided that the existing spending wasn't extreme enough. Build a banquet center, restaurant, and an already financial loss of a golf course. We have 9 banquet centers in and around the city. We've had 30+ restaurants come and go in Twinsburg in the last 30 years. Both businesses usually always reside in the private sector. Just because as a city we've had 0 experience with restaurants and banquet centers where failure rates are oppressive, we can make it work because the taxpayers will subsidize it. It's a real wonder that we've had the reserves as long as we did. Of course, not enough is left to finance the $7.5 million Taj Mahal. Our founding fathers had planned this as a bedroom community located equidistant between Cleveland and Akron, surrounded by all the amenities in the surrounding area. We had great benefits and low taxes. It appears that this present regime is planning to eliminate the low taxes and probably some benefits. and the CIC is busy trying to create a Crocker Park. Amazon and Walmart will have something to say about that idea. My belief is that we would be better off with a city manager, a professional, and only have one butt to kick in times like this. Thank you for your education, Councilman Furey. Thank you.
Next, we have Tim Clark.
Good evening, Council and the Mayor.
Good evening.
Tim Clark, 9845 Crestwood Drive. Subject tonight is Central Valley Trails, first and last mile trails. For those of you who don't know what the Central Valley Trail is, it's a trail that runs from Glenwood Drive to behind Dodge School. According to the Mayor's report on Cable 9, the Mayor said this is one of the most walked trails in the city. I agree with this statement because I walk different parts of this trail daily. A lot of residents use this trail year-round, and it is quite a beautiful trail. The photos in this binder are labeled on the back with their locations. These photos represent the north end of the trail, South Bridge log jam and on the trail, and some residential sidewalks. The photos show parking lots are perfectly salted, but the paths that connect to the parking lot to the Central Valley Trail are never clear. The Central Valley Trail is plowed but never salted. No emergency phones at either end of the trail. Log jam up against the South Bridge has been there since spring of 2018. Park and residential sidewalks not clear of snow. The log up jam on the bridge, on the South Bridge, I forgot to add them in the last meeting. That was brought to my attention by a resident. I was just walking by on the bridge and he said when they got to clear this log jam off the bridge, it's been there since spring. And this was last fall when he asked me. I said, I don't know. I said, well, let me take some pictures and I'll get to that and see what happens. But as we keep getting the floods and stuff, more and more logs are going to pile up against that bridge. It could end up costing us a lot of money. That bridge ends up toppling over for some reason or one. Is this the maintenance the residents can expect if or when the city builds the other first and last mile trails? Are these trail maintenance costs figured in some part of the project stage? Like seal coating, the asphalt, how often, how many times, once a year, twice a year? Estimated service department hours for trail maintenance, for mowing, blowing, trimming, snow removal, taking away the downed trees when they fall. Estimated cost of supplies, environmentally safe salt for the trails and parking lot paths. That way it won't damage the ecosystem. Additional road salt for parking lots. As we gain more parking lots with the trail systems, we're going to need additional more salt. Gas usage for the equipment is naturally going to go up too. If we don't put this into our project plans, why not? If the city is not concerned with the residents' safety year-round, or not financially able to properly maintain the trails year-round, why would the city want to waste money on more trails? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sue Clark.
Good evening, Council. Sue Clark, 9845 Crestwood Drive. I put in a public records request on January 31st and would like to get my public records request answered by the people that was submitted to. Thank you.
And next, we have Michael Turrell.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Michael Turrell, 9930 Forest Lake Drive. We had the State of the City address a week or two ago. I can't really comment on that. I wasn't able to attend. I had to work. Didn't find any videos. If there's any videos, I'm certainly open to that. Before that, we had the Furey flyby, and I'm going to give you a Turrell's take on Twinsburg. This is just from a resident's view. Mr. Furey, you spoke on, I'm sorry, not allowed to address. presentation spoke of this many years we purchased Liberty Park, and then we had to put in ball fields, and then people wanted soccer fields, and then parking lots, and we put in bathrooms, and then we got to maintain it, and then we built a fitness center. Then we had to build an expansion onto that, and then we had to put in parking lots and more parking lot lighting, then we had to staff it and maintain it, and then we built a senior center. Spoke on the Glenwood Acres water lines. Yes, I take personal offense with you saying those are really not necessary. I believe Mr. Scaffide doesn't think that they were unnecessary because he was the one who absolutely pushed for those things for over 10 years and continues to be the leading advocate in that. And I don't think he would unnecessarily spend $10 million on water lines that were installed in 1957 that are 62 years old. That, yes, they are recommended by several sources that they should be replaced around 50 years old. So I'm glad you're really enjoying this and you're sitting there smirking at me. That's shameless is what that is.
Just waiting to respond.
But all of these things came along before this current administration. You spoke of these things about how the city spent all of this money on all of these things. These are all 10, 12, 15 years ago. This has absolutely nothing to do in these last 3 years that we've blown through quite a large sum of money in our cash reserves with, I don't know what to show for it. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, our fire chief came in and I heard him speaking. Fire Station 1 is in some drastic needs of renovating, that it was not built as a dormitory facility. They have problems with fumes or something, I don't know exactly, but he was speaking on the fact that we need either a new station or we need that station repaired. And I have not heard any discussions on any of that in any of these meetings, and instead we go and we built a golf clubhouse. To me, what's more important? Clubhouse, firehouse, I'll take that firehouse any day of the week. I want my safety services to be strong and prepared and staffed well. So now going over to our clubhouse. We built the clubhouse. The cost of this thing started out, I believe it was sent to the residents at $4.2 million. Jumped over $6 million overnight for what was called site improvements. The only real site improvements that we really need would be to knock down that double-wide trailer that was our old clubhouse. And, you know, we saw how fast that can happen when we knock down the old dentist office. That really doesn't take a whole lot. The site improvements, which were not really told to the public, was that instead of building a driveway, we built a road up into a vacant parcel of property. A driveway costs this much. I know, I just built a house 10 years ago, put in a driveway. A road cost this much. I know because I had to improve a road. I had to spend $25,000 to bring city improvements down the street so I could flush toilets and turn a light on in my house. And I had to get all that stuff done before I could stick a shovel in the dirt. So we built a road that cost this much to a vacant piece of property so that we can try to put it to the voters again. Let's rezone this thing so that we can get these cluster homes in there when it's been failed twice. The second time it was failed worse. So I'm starting to digress a little bit. So now we're at $6.2 million on this golf course. Okay. Oh, then we got to buy golf carts. Well, now we need golf cart battery chargers, and now we got to buy used tables because we're trying to save money on this thing on that end, and it's over $7.25 million. This is kind of the equivalent of you go out and you buy a car, make a deal with the dealer. Okay, I'm going to buy a car. Before you leave, oh, wait a second, you can't go yet. That steering wheel is going to cost you another $1,000. Okay, you pay your $1,000 and you get your steering wheel for your car. You go out there, there's no tires. Oh, well, yeah, the tires are going to cost another $4,000. So then you put, you know, okay, here's my $4,000 for the tires. Okay, oh, no, wait, you got to buy a gas tank. You got to have a gas tank for this thing. This is not fiscal responsibility even in the slightest bit. If you're going to sell us on this golf course clubhouse, we need to know what the cost was. And this cost, once we broke ground and we're off and running on this thing, oh, now we got to buy this. Now we got to buy that. We snuck a road in there without anybody knowing about it, other than calling it site improvements. I'm glad you're amused, Mr. Furey, because you were the driving force behind this thing that is burdened our city until my son will be 48 years old. He's a high school senior right now. I'm going to wrap up here, and all I would like to know is that in this time, we have blown through close to $20 million of our cash reserves in 3 years. Where Where has that money gone? That's what I want to know. Where's the money? Thank you.
That's all for this evening.
Okay.
I'd like to respond. Mr. Turl, I agree. You really don't know. The water lines in the acres were replaced as part of a road program. We had probably 15 water checks. There was never any test that was done by Cleveland Water that ever showed there was anything wrong with that water. There is transite, wood, and other materials of pipe all the way up to the lake where we get that water. All I was saying is we've done significant road and infrastructure improvements in the acres. Your vision of the city downtown area was to put $8 million into a three-piece old school that would, with no business plan to come up with anything. You came up to, you know, your famous argument, the red brick makes it historic, was still one of my all-time favorite speeches you ever gave. Now, the school is down. There is actually activity on how to redevelop for mixed-use areas down so that we can have economic development and revenue.
Where's the money, Bill? I want to know, where's the money?
You're out of order.
Where's the money?
Mike.
So we have, at the end of this year, we're going to have $13 million in reserves. $13 million. We have an AA2 rating, and
Where did $20 million go in the last 3
and-
years? That's my question. Answer that question.
you're right. You just don't know.
I'm asking. That's
Mike.
what I'm asking.
Mr.
Mike.
Turl, if you would just
No.
stay in your
No.
seat, if you would just, Mr. Turl, if you'd stay in your seat and you watch, hey,
You know what?
listen to me.
I don't have to answer your question. No,
Michael.
let me finish, Mr. Turl.
Michael.
Mr. Turl, let me finish. You can write about me in 20 minutes on your site. But I'm sure the mayor is going to give you the financial overview of where your money went. I was at the State of the City. I mean, we have a great story to tell, and we're going to tell it to you tonight. I believe we're going to tell it to you tonight.
I'll tell it to him in about 15 minutes.
Okay. So, yes, we're going to tell you. It's not a secret. It's all public knowledge. And thank you for your time.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, next is council communication and committee reports. Feel like talking to someone?
Sure, I'll go.
You're up, Mr. Chair.
All right. The Finance Committee sat down on February 21st and went line by line with department heads to look at potentially trimming some aspects of the budget. We met again this evening to finish up with the engineering department and the Park and Rec department. Prior to tonight's meeting, from the original budget that was submitted, there's been $1.32 million taken out of the proposed budget, according to the finance director. Reading off paper. Again, we have a statement of cash that's readily available, and it shows that at the end of the year, we are projected to have $13.2 million in reserves, because there's more to the city finances than just general fund. We have capital improvements, we have SCMR, we have enterprise zones that bring monies in left and right. So, again, I think we're in great financial shape right now. And again, I look forward to the mayor presenting for a second time his numbers after this. The next finance meeting is going to be the 12th, prior to the council meeting. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Scaffide.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Good evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals met on February 13th. And there was one appeal, number 1, 2019, which is the BP gas station on 82 next to Burger King. As you may or may not know, Circle K plans on taking over that gas station. And what they're going to be doing is, and I'm going to try to do this in a nutshell because there were 5 different variances that they requested. So I'm just going to give you like the plan as I know it, is to remove that car wash that's there between the gas station and Burger King. They want to open up that area to another driveway or to be able to use the driveway of Burger King to be able to use the light. which is going to make it easier, much easier for traffic going in and out of there, rather than trying to get out where there is no light and fight with the traffic. So that's one thing. The other thing is they plan on taking, though, and rebuilding a new car wash on the other side of the property by the freeway ramp. So they're going to have, the car wash will be there. There'll be a driveway going to Burger King to be able to get out there. They're going to have to widen the aprons for ingress and egress for truck traffic. They plan on having some area behind the station where cars then can go around and use the car wash, and the fuel islands for the diesel fuel, and they've got a whole, it's really a nice plan. It's a nice looking plan, and I think that once they complete their project, it's going to be a really nice addition to that area that really, as of late, has really kind of gone down the hill. So that being said, there were several different variances that they needed. For instance, side yard setback variances, front yard setback variances for parking, driveway ingress and egress variances. So what the board decided to do, they took each and every variance and they voted on each one individually, and they had all passed by a unanimous vote from the board. So the next step, I believe, will be that Circle K will be coming in and probably discussing it with the building department again and moving forward at this point. So that went fine, and that was the end of that meeting. The other thing that I have tonight is I also attended all the Finance Committee meetings that Mr. Furey spoke of, and I think that we've really gone through the budget this year as we started to look at that really back in November and really take a look at, and that's when it was decided that we would pass a temporary budget and wait for this year to pass a permanent budget. So we've been, the Finance Committee and all of council that is in attendance has been really diligently looking at that budget, and I think that we're going to turn something out next week that's really going to be a good budget and something that we can all live with, and really we took a strong, hard look at it. So, and I'm proud of that, and I think the whole committee and all of council will be as well, or should be as well, because it was a lot of work in several meetings, and it took time to do. Other than that, that's all I have tonight. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Mrs. Stauffer.
Hey, my committees did not meet. I have a Twinsday committee meeting on Wednesday, March 6th, and Public Works will meet on April 9th. I did attend the Finance Committee meeting, but have no other meetings to report at this time. All done.
Okay. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I attended the CIC meeting on February 19th. I will let Mr. Furey, or did we talk about that? Did you talk about that? Elaborate a little
I did not. Why
further?
don't you go ahead and do that, please?
I left all my notes there. You usually talk about that. The long and short is we're continuing to look at opportunities for downtown development. We did have some public participation. Ms. Williams joined us, resident of Maple Drive, and shared with the members some concerns she had about downtown redevelopment, as most specifically the downtown redevelopment district. I believe we had a really good exchange in terms of understanding exactly what is all involved in that kind of purely financial tool to allow for some diversion of an increase in taxes in a specifically defined area. The next CIC meeting is going to be Tuesday, April 11th at 6 p.m. in the jury room here behind council chambers. That was the only committee of mine that met because of the President's Day holiday. Planning Commission did not meet. The next meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 4th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The next Environmental Commission meeting is Tuesday, March 5th at 7 p.m. So we will look to be talking about a few things there. Safety Committee is scheduled for March 12th at 6 o'clock. couple quick items, and I'll wrap it up here. I do want to commend the members of the Finance Committee. They've spent quite a few hours going, again, as Mr. Scaffide, Mr. Furey stated, line by line through the budget, and they've done a yeoman's job. So I'd like to commend them. I'd also like to just thank Sarah for putting up with everybody during this sort of tumultuous time. You do a great job getting information out, not only to us, but the residents in a timely fashion. So thank you for that. This morning I had the privilege to read to Mrs. Scalero's first grade class at Wilcox Elementary School for part of Wilcox Reads Week. That was terrific. They were a great audience, and I really enjoyed doing that. So I'd just like to thank the students and staff at Wilcox for being such gracious hosts and allowing us to come in and just share a few minutes of their day. Finally, I'm just going to circle back quickly to the Environmental Commission. Ms. Walker, at our last meeting, we have not had a meeting since our last council meeting, was in discussions with Giant Eagle regarding the use of plastic bags. She's done a little bit of homework. As we all know, Daisy always does. She gets out there in the community, gets her hands dirty, makes it happen. Just wanted to point out a couple of quick things. These are bags that she acquired from Giant Eagle. This is a number 2 high-density polyethylene thin film plastic, which, although may be recyclable chemically or on paper, is not able to be sorted by machines. So this is a product that when it finds its way into all of our recycling bins, it actually causes the machines to need user intervention, causes breakdowns, causes premature wear. This is something that actually adds to all of our recycling costs, whether you live in Twinsburg or anywhere else really in Northeast Ohio. This is another Giant Eagle bag. It says, please return to store for recycling, because even they're aware that you shouldn't throw this in your recycling bin. So two messages. One, don't throw thin film plastics in the recycling bin. And 2, Heinen's, not to play corporate favorites, also has some paper options available, and they do have reusable produce and grocery bags available for purchase. So we're just trying for all of our corporate partners here in Twinsburg to be good stewards of the environment. And Ms. Walker just asked me to share with council and everyone here this evening. So thank you for your time. Mr. Steele, that does it for me.
Ms. Walker, was Giant Eagle there open to suggestions for this? Is that correct?
Giant Eagle mentioned to me, she says if you see anything, and I told her that I did go to Heinen's and pick up a bag and buy another bag, and I described the bag to her, and Giant Eagle also sent out people to other grocery stores to see exactly what their recycling mission was, and she says let council and the mayor decide on either, what bags you want, the white one and or the one that you could see through. And my request is if Giant Eagle could get out maybe 1,000 free to whoever comes to the store, and then after we use our bags for a while, you wouldn't mind paying 50 cents, 60 cents for a bag that you can use over and over again for 10, 20 times. So.
And I'm sure we'll be discussing this more at Tuesday's Environmental Commission meeting. Anybody that wants to talk about shopping bags, join us. We'll be here. All right. Thank you, Mr. Steele. That does it for me this evening.
That one looks like it's underneath the seat on an airplane.
Yeah, this one does. Looks like
Yeah.
or no, this one. This is the.
Yeah.
Just need the drawing.
Yeah. Mr. Bellan.
Thank you.
Good evening. On Thursday, February 14th, I attended Mary Yates's State of the City presentation. I also attended last Thursday's and this Tuesday's Finance Committee meeting. The last 2 evenings, we have interviewed interested candidates for open boards and commissions. Well, thank you for those that applied. We had a slew of incredibly qualified candidates, and it's just amazing to see how many people are willing to give of their time to help out the city, so I really do appreciate it. The ARB met on Thursday, February 21st. There were 6 cases on the agenda. Case 190207 was a home addition at 8863 Gettysburg Drive. It was approved as submitted. Case 190211 was an enclosed porch addition at 9749 Darrow Road. It was approved as noted with the addition of a piece of trim. Case 190212 was a new single-family home by Wayne Homes across the street here at 10024 Ravenna Road. That was tabled for that evening. Case 190213 was a single-family home by Pulte Homes at 2823 Hunter's Ridge. It was approved as noted with the addition of 3 windows and some trim. Case 190104 was a plaza sign for Summit Sound at 8027 Darrow Road. It was approved as submitted, pending the review and approval of the sign ordinance by the law director. Case 190214 was a planter sign by Dr. Glenn at 99464 Darrow Road. It was approved as submitted. The next ARB meeting will be held on Thursday, March 7th, 6 p.m. right here in council chambers. The next Golf Advisory Board will be held on Tuesday, March 19th, 6:30 p.m. right here in council chambers. And that's all I had for this evening. Thank you.
Great. Ms. McFearin.
I also attended the State of the City presentation by Mayor Yates up at the Glen Eagles Golf Course, and I do believe that it was immediately available, and I think Mr. Bellan actually shared it. I did see it.
No, I don't think there's a video yet.
You don't think so? Is that
No,
on
I think
the-
we're still waiting on it from,
First, it's going to be the mayor's report for March.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that Channel 9 or someone had posted it. I attended the Finance Committee today, and also would like to thank the Finance Committee for their thorough work and for sharing the different reports so we could all be best prepared for today. Did attend the CIC meeting. There is one resident seat open, and that's going to be posted for anyone interested to fill the resident position. This Thursday, February 28th, the Parks and Rec meeting will be held. Safety meeting will be on 3/12, and the Community Relations next meeting is on 3/21 at 5 o'clock at the Chamber of Commerce. Our Friends of the Twinsburg Parks met on February 18th. The next meeting will be on March 18th at 7:30 at rush hour. And anyone who would like to be a member, there are applications on their website. That's all I have.
Okay. I was here for the first boards and committees. That was yesterday, and we worked on that a little bit this afternoon. Those names and the boards will be coming out at the next council meeting. I was also here for the Finance Committee meeting. We did get some money out of the budget, which is a good thing. And that's it in a nutshell. Next is the mayor's report.
Hi, good evening, everyone. A couple of things going on. So on March 5th, we have our 20th anniversary for our fitness center. So there'll be stuff going on all day at the fitness center. We've just received notice, so we've been entertaining these public-private partnerships and sponsorship of different either buildings or areas around the city, and we approached Kent State a year or so ago and actually entered into a partnership. There's a new area we wanted to create at the fitness center, and so we were able to obtain a sponsorship of that from Kent State. So we'll probably be doing a ribbon cutting that day, our dedication. It's our new training zone that we put in the last 6 to 8 months. So I invite anyone to come out, check out the fitness center if you've never seen it before, and I'd love to have, hopefully council can find time in their schedule. The ribbon cutting, I believe, is going to be at 3 o'clock. We had, of course, a high wind storm the last few days. It impacted a number of homes around Twinsburg. I just want to thank all the residents who may have reached out to a neighbor. We had probably 50 homes or so that were without power for in excess of 24 hours. We did open up our senior center for a shelter. I don't believe we had anyone, so just thank the families that helped take care of those that were without heat for that period of time. We did, keep in contact with Ohio Edison and provided updates, but I know they were dealing with in excess of 150,000 homes that were out, and I think about 4,500 in just Summit County. So we were pushing them hard, and Actually got them out probably a little bit earlier than what they were hoping to, but we had a lot of pressure on them. So I'm glad they were able to get out this morning and get those homes on, get at least Gary Drive back on. So branches, so I anticipate we've had some storm damage around the city, at the golf course, some of our parks. So if you do have branches, go ahead and get them cleaned up. We will start our branch pickup on April 1st. If we see things start really piling up, and depending on weather, we may be able to start a little bit early, but right now the date is April 1st to start the branch pickup. Like Mr. Barr, I was at Wilcox today reading to little kids. I was actually in Mr. Scalero's room, and a Dr. Seuss book was chosen for me, and I'd forgotten how difficult some of the words in a Dr. Seuss book can be, but since he makes up half of them. But it was fun. I really enjoyed doing that each year. I do want to thank, as Mr. Bellan, the people that came out to interview for the boards and commissions that we have, the openings that we do have. It's amazing to me, being on council prior, we literally would spend time making phone calls to residents, asking them to come serve and be part of our boards and commissions. And I mean, the last few years have just been a phenomenal turnout. It's actually made it really difficult for council, because we have so many people that are passionate about wanting to serve this community, and we only have so many spots to fill. And we have those that have been serving, committing their time for years, and that balance of experience and bringing new people on. So I know it's a really challenging decision, but I just want to thank all the residents. And you know, we had an individual that's been coming back. I think this is third time, and hopefully we'll get her placed this time. But I continue to, if you don't get placed, please continue to apply, because things do change, and you know, we hope to get you on a board or committee at some point. And then moving into, I have my senior State of the City coming up on March 13th at 9:30. I know that's at the Senior Center. I don't know that it's limited to seniors, but it's one of those that I do kind of a follow-up for the seniors on that particular day. And I don't believe the video's been posted yet, so I've been receiving some requests to kind of go through the State of the City. I'm not going to do the whole State of the City. I ran through about 55 minutes last time. So, but what I did is I pulled out some of the more, I guess, pressing slides that deal with some of our economic development and then our finances. So I'm going to run through those. Some of Mark, we can get those up. And so this is kind of jumping right in the middle. And so I spent some time talking about Cornerstone. You know, from an economic development standpoint, you know, when we first looked at our Chrysler site and it closed down, a lot of us were expecting it to be mothballed like a lot of the other plants around here. But we were fortunate we had a developer that within a 6 to 8 month period had sold off all that they could and decided to clear the entire site. I know it's not going to be the jobs that we had in the past and the salaries that we had in the past, but no one is experiencing that. I mean, Twinsburg is not any different than any other city around the country as it relates to manufacturing jobs. I mean, what we're seeing are large-scale distribution centers, and this just highlights 2 new structures that just are under construction this year. So you've got the O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is a distribution center, which while it's not the amount of jobs that Chrysler had, but it's adding to the payroll of the 167 acres that are now being developed. So we've got about $11 million in payroll. And then there's another multi-tenant spec building. So the developer built the first one, and within a 3 or 4 year period had it filled, and has built another one. And we're actually talking with a company that's looking to go into that spec building, and then we have also another business that's looking at another new construction project here within the city. So from an economic development standpoint, we're limited on land, but we're still there's still businesses that want to come and build and invest in Twinsburg. So it's a positive thing, and later on when we talk about income tax revenue, you'll see some of those changes. I always highlight businesses that come into town. A lot of these are small businesses that we welcome here, and you know, when you look at Twinsburg as a whole, we tend to focus on some of our larger businesses that provide significant payroll, but a lot of these smaller businesses really is what adds character to our community. So these are just the businesses that came into Twinsburg over the last year. Downtown redevelopment. It was touched on a little bit tonight. This is the central area that's been focused on, where you're looking at Route 82 to Creekside Lane. I've drawn a box around it. The CIC has been key in pursuing this redevelopment of this area. We've assembled some of the key properties. We've got the old school site that's now clear. There was 2.1 acres that were purchased by the CIC, and we've heard that some of the other property, significant property, is going to be under contract soon. So hopefully this year we'll be able to make some announcements on a project in this particular area, pull together some residents and some town hall meetings just to start the process of a development agreement that would be for this site. So that's something that I'm excited about, and I know a lot of residents are. This was something that when we talk about connecting trails, we have a significant amount of trail systems within Twinsburg, more than many other municipalities. We were able to get a grant that looked at really connecting these trails. So while the trails exist, a lot of them don't really connect to each other. And so what this particular analysis did was look at ways that we can start connecting our trails. And we have a lot of data and actually some cost estimates. If you look at all the different numbers, those are kind of priorities of ones that we'd like to connect. I know council recently approved to go out for a grant, which would actually be a 13-acre parcel, which would actually be a key piece to really connecting some of our trails to our central area. When we look at staffing with the city, these are our current full-time employees, which really hasn't changed that much over the last few years. Our current part-time has gone up a little bit because of the clubhouse and some of the operational staff that we do have there. And our seasonal employees always stay about the same. We're at 100+ every year, and that's camp counselors and lifeguards, and really a ton of jobs that we are able to provide to our residents, or the families and kids that live within the city. What we're seeing for the first time, we've got a lot of retirements that are going on within our departments, and so what we're seeing for the first time is that our turnover rate is going up a little bit, and our longevity is going down, and that's because we're replacing those long-term employees with younger employees. So their longevity's gone down, and our turnover is a little bit higher for our full-timers. One of the things I always talk about, because it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, is our health insurance. When I came on in 2015, our claim ratio was 126%, meaning we were paying out 26, the insurance company was paying out 26% more than they were collecting from us. Through, I think, the wellness program, through really educating our employees on how to spend their healthcare dollars, and a bigger shift toward our HSA, we were able to reduce that to 94%, 67%, and 74% in 2018. The green line is really that kind of spot that you want to be, is below 80%. So we've been able to do that the last 2 years. And then we're currently looking at going in 2020. We've announced it to being self-funded. The last couple of years it would have had a financial impact on us, savings-wise, to be self-insured. So this is something we're looking at. And just from a dollar standpoint, and no one really focuses on this when they talk about budget and they talk about spending money, and we're talking about where did our money go. In 2012, we had $2.2 million in healthcare expense. Our employee base really has not changed, our full-time employees, but our cost in 2018 was almost $3.5 million. And that was actually that was flat from 2017 to 18. So when you look at $1.2 million of really no value to the city, I mean, we've got $1 million additional expense since 2012. That's a 60% increase with no additional value. We've got the same coverage with the same company, with the same employee base. So these are the costs that start creeping up that we really have very little to zero control over. Going from 2018 to 19, we're looking at a 6.9% increase, which is about half of what the trend is. So, we're looking toward that self-insurance for 2020. Hopefully we'll be able to manage our healthcare better and see some savings in the long run, because this is something that again, we have to provide, and again, there's no additional benefit for us as a municipality. Service department, this just gives you an idea of what we spend on an annual basis in our service department. And this is talking about our branch chipping, our leaf collection. These are the services that that we provide free to all our residents. There's a lot of municipalities that touch our borders that don't provide this to the residents. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that we do and that we provide, along with, I mean, whether it's branch clipping, leaf collection, trash pickup, or sidewalk leveling. I mean, there's no municipality around us that goes around and levels sidewalks for the residents. I mean, that was equipment we bought in 2015, and we started that program. We were seeing a lot of trips and a lot of uneven sidewalks, and it's challenging to get a resident to, or force a resident to do that. So we started doing that in Twinsburg. When you look at income tax collections, 2009 to 2011, we saw a slight increase. The 0.25% was put into place, and we saw a significant increase through 12 and 13. At that time, the 0.25% went back on the ballot. We had built up reserves. Our income had gone up. And then you can see in 2013 to 14 to 15, we saw a significant decrease to the tune of over $5 million in our income tax. Through economic development, we've been able to see some increase over the last couple of years. So we saw an increase from 15 to 16, 16 to 17, and 17 to 18. When you look at your general fund, and we look at impact on reserves, 2018, when you look at the draw, part of that was funding for the clubhouse. So we've seen decreases each year in the amount that we've drawn on our reserves. You know, it's challenging, and council has worked hard. I mean, we've worked on budgets to slow down the draw on our reserves and to decrease our expenses. When you look at our budget, and it's 60% bodies, you know, I as mayor have tried to make a decision to not lay off employees. We offer great services here, and I think we looked at everything we could from an operational standpoint to tighten up the way that we fund our operations here, and we've been able to do that. We still have, if you look at our ending balance, $8 million. It's still a healthy fund balance. You know, 15 years ago, we had people complaining about we had too much money. We need to spend it on infrastructure, roads, those kind of things, and I'll get to that in a minute. But here it looks at our draw on our reserves. When you graph it, it's gone down each year. So the draw on the reserves has gone down. So we're moving in the right direction. We're working toward that balanced budget. Hopefully in 2019, we'll get even closer again. When you look at the amount we've actually spent from the general fund, going from 2014 up to 2018, and again, 2018 included over $1 million that went toward capital in the golf course. So we were actually about $800,000 less than we were in 2017, spending out of the general fund. When you look at spending comparisons, same things. This is our largest, our 9 largest funds that we spend out of. And so we've taken decreases in each of those funds from 2017 to 18. And 2018, again, would have been much lower than 17 had we taken that money out of the golf course that we spent, you know, to fund that project. Salaries and wages. So again, a majority of our budget goes to salary and wages, and this gives you a perspective on where we spend our money. So a majority of our money is spent on safety forces. Okay, that's where the city invests its money when it comes to our employee base. You look at the service department second, which makes sense, and then we go into the sewer department, fitness center, and on down. So when you look at our essential services, safety force and our service department, a majority of our salaries and wages are spent on those operations. When you look at investment, okay, from 2013 to 2018. So one of the questions I was asked is where did the money go? So this particular state of the city, I took a look at in the last 5 to 6 years, what did we invest from a capital standpoint in each of our departments? All right, this just shows you the fire department. These are the vehicles, the equipment. We currently budgeted for a new, basically $750,000 fire truck, fire engine for the fire station. But this is where our money's been spent. You look at the police department, okay? We've got 1.3 million, almost 1.4 million. These are in our cruisers, our detective cars, all the things that we need, our communication upgrade in our dispatch center. But again, this is almost 1.4 million over the last 5 to 6 years. Service and wastewater, again, 2.7 million, all right? These are the things that we've purchased. These are hard assets that the city has. These aren't things that we're spending and that, you know, we've been fortunate this year our capital is going to be much lower because we're working with a lot of the state-of-the-art equipment that we need to operate this city because we've invested in it over the last 5 years. So this just gives you a snapshot of 2.7 million in our service and wastewater department. When we start grouping Parks and Rec, Fitness Center, Water Park, and the golf course, okay, almost $6 million has gone into basically quality of life things. And I know there's a debate about whether we should even have any of this in our city, but for me, this is extremely important. And I think to the residents, doing the things that we need to add for programming, for facilities, for our children, for adults, for seniors, and then being able to take care of all that space that we've created. I don't think spending $11 million on Liberty Park land was a waste. I can't imagine our community without those ball fields and what we do there. Our fitness center, again, that's such a daily part of life. We got delayed last night in our interviews because we had a lady that specifically found Twinsburg and was just so amazed with our fitness center and what that offered that she could come here. And I mean, we let her go on for about 15 minutes talking about the different things that Twinsburg offers its residents that no other community she went to and visited to move to she could find. Again, our golf course. This is another asset that we've added, both our new clubhouse as well as the course itself. So these are things that we've added since 2013 to present. When you look at roads, I didn't even add 2013 roads on here because I was running out of space, but we've got over 33 lane miles that we've resurfaced since 2014 on this particular slide, so I didn't include the money either. So 6.1 million we've invested in roadway repair throughout the city, and these are internal roads that we don't receive grants for. This map, when you look at, this shows the age of our pavement in service years. If you focus in on the green and the blue, which is a majority of this map, this is 10 years of less, okay, in the age of our roadway system here in Twinsburg. I doubt very many communities can boast about that. So, you know, there's been a significant amount of dollars invested in us making sure we take care of our roads. You know, and every year we're always going to have a road that needs repaired and ones that we're looking at or we may push off to the next year. But a majority of our roadways have been resurfaced or redone in the last 10 years. Engineering projects. So this is since 2013. These are engineering projects that we've predominantly funded but have received grants for. So significant projects. I mean, to the total of about 38.5 million. So when you ask where did our money go, our money's gone back into Twinsburg. We have stuff to show for each and every project that we've done. And this is just a list, and I know it's hard to read, but the big number at the top is what I was trying to share with everyone. This is just other capital investments. The land that's been purchased through the CIC, about $850,000. Land that the city's acquired, around $300,000. The clearing of the old school site, city renovations. So throughout every year, we spend there's probably $100,000 that goes into updating City Hall or other buildings around the city. So we invest money in that. We've replaced windows. We've done HVAC upgrades. I think something fell off the end there. But throughout this, I mean, we got about $2.8 million since 2013 that we've invested into other projects. I think part of that was our high-def system here so that we can communicate with our residents. We had about $65,000 that we invested here so that these meetings can be videoed and recorded. Yeah, so when you look at it all, over the last 5 or 6 years, there's almost $59 million that we've put back into this community. You know, and it's something that when I first started putting this together and thinking about where we go, I thought it might be in the $20–25 million range, but when you look at all the money we've invested since 2013, it's $58.9 million. So I hope that answers some of the questions. I know, you know, that doesn't diminish the fact that council and myself are extremely aware that we're spending reserves in our finance department, that council's worked really hard on this budget and on every year that every budget that's been prepared, our department heads, and unless we decide, okay, we're just going to walk to every department and say, just start carving off bodies, then, you know, we will continue to work hard to try to do what we need to do. And it's a revenue expense thing. It's a very, very common formula. You're either going to have more revenue and less expense is the only way that you're going to get yourself balanced. And we've worked hard at that, and I know this year they've done the same. You know, each year when you talk about budget and council, I mean, this has been a budget that's been presented by finance and myself, and it's been unanimously approved every single year. So it's one of those things that they'll continue to work hard on. We'll continue to monitor and continue to look at ways to be more efficient, whether it's through restructuring of departments, staffing, looking at, you know, there's in terms of when we lose jobs, whether we need to replace those particular jobs or can other responsibilities be absorbed. We'll continue to do that throughout 2019, but I wanted to give a snapshot of you know, what we've done the last 5 or 6 years from a capital investment standpoint. So I'll stop talking now. So, all right. With that, we'll move on to department head reports. Colette, you want to start?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Stauffer Civil Service, they met on February 15th. They started with a public hearing to discuss some proposed changes to the civil service rules regarding the scoring of promotional testing. There was an officer that attended that had some concerns about the changes, so the commission decided to do a little bit further research and then take it up again at their next meeting in March. The commission also discussed an appeal that was submitted by one of the candidates who took the police entrance exam on January 25th. The appeal was upheld by the commission, so as a result, the scores of 6 candidates who were given credit for 1 additional correct answer increased slightly, but with very little impact on the overall certification list, which will be, the list then was recalculated and will be certified on March 7th. That's the next meeting. HR-wise, we had we've done with our open enrollment period. Yes, 6 open enrollment meetings that we had in here. We did presentations up there, an opportunity for all the employees to attend at least one of the meetings. We also did record one of the meetings so that they can watch that if they didn't get a chance to be here in person. All the paperwork is in. We got a few stragglers out there, but it was a huge effort. Sandy Panzik and Brenda Burns helped me a lot on that, and I really appreciate their help and their organizational skills. Currently, I'm just working on getting some reports done that are annual reports that are due for the CERB, and also for a survey that is done by a big civil service report that has to get done. Seasonal hiring is in full swing, and then our hiring managers were all trained on our new civic HR onboarding module, so they're all doing their little piece of it, and then it comes to Sandy and I, and we do our little piece. And then it goes out to the applicants, and they can, like I explained before, they fill out their all their paperwork online, and then just hit the submit button. And it comes over electronically, no more where they have to print it out and bring it in and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool, and it's working quite well. Just a couple little kinks we're working on, but it's doing a pretty good job. So in IT, all the monitors in the building department were upgraded from 17 to 24. 50% of our users have completed our most recent online cybersecurity awareness training, and a third monitor was installed at each of the 4 PD dispatch positions, and they're working on piloting Windows 10 on one of the PCs over there. We're going to have to eventually kind of migrate over to Windows 10. It's going to be a big project at some point in the future, so we're trying to just do a little experimenting before we roll it out to everybody. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. There are a couple of new pieces of legislation on the agenda tonight. Resolution 16, 2019, which is a top agreement for a company called Scratch Off Systems. It's offering a 33% 5-year top grant to a company that'll be moving here from Independence. They have approximately $1.3 million payroll. As I said, they'll be getting if approved by council, they'll be getting a 33% 5-year term top grant. Resolution 17, 2019 is a top agreement for a company called Spectrum Diversified. Spectrum is coming here from Streetsboro, and they're signing a 3-year lease at a new location that they're going to occupy on Dutton Drive. They will be limited to 3-year term for their agreement because they're only signing a 3-year lease. So we're providing them with council's approval a 50% top grant for a period of 3 years. The Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation meeting that was originally scheduled for the 19th of March has been postponed. It's going to be postponed to April 11th at 6 p.m. Same place here at Twinsburg City Hall in the jury room. Also, the CIC website is being updated, and that update is nearly complete, and we should have it up and running here relatively soon, within probably the next week or two. And while I'm on the subject of the CIC has a resident representative opening, and we will be advertising for interest in from a resident to fill that position. So we'll be accepting invitations or accepting applications for that particular position, and we'll be accepting also recommendations from the existing board members. In terms of current activities, we're currently in the middle of the annual incentive reporting routine, where we collect all the information from companies who've received incentives from the city, monitor their progress, and make then a recommendation to council for either the extension, the modification, or termination of existing incentive agreements. And that will come after a tax incentive review council meeting. The tax incentive review council meeting includes representatives from the school district, from the county, from the city, and from residents in the area. We are anticipating the TURC meeting to be held at 5 p.m. on March 19th. It will be open to the public, but it will be here also likely in the jury room. We've received several completed report forms, so we're reviewing those. We'll be putting together a summary and compiling that into an annual report for the Tax Incentive Review Council. They will consider the status of each company and then make a recommendation. They'll come back to council for action in early April. The annual report for the Community Reinvestment Area Program benefited companies has to be into the state by the end of March. So we will be reporting to the state by the end of March, and that will be based on the progress reflected in the reports that we received. It will not include necessarily the recommendation from council, because council's meeting won't occur until after that time. Also, we'll be, at the time we get finished with all the reports, we'll be developing a payout schedule for the school system reimbursements and for the Twinsburg occupancy program company payouts. So you'll see those in April. Currently, we're also working in-house on preparing an economic development plan and legislation to create a downtown redevelopment district. We'll be providing a draft to council. That'll probably come to you also in either April or maybe even in May, but I think perhaps in April, if we can get the downtown redevelopment district economic development plan finished this month. So that's what's happening. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. All right, Derek?
Good evening again. I did want to echo the mayor's comments on the 20th anniversary of the fitness center. Welcome everyone, residents. 3 p.m. on the 5th, March 5th, at the fitness center for the training zone opening. Cable 9 is also running a, I don't think it's been filmed yet, but it's filming soon, kind of a history of the fitness center, how it's evolved over the last 20 years. So when that's on Cable 9, I'm sure we'll share it on our websites so everyone, or Facebook pages so everyone can see that as well. It is time people start thinking about water park. You know, if you get your pass by the end of this month, you get the 4 free guest passes, or if you bundle your membership with the fitness center membership, you always get 10 free membership guest passes for the outdoor pool. One thing that some people don't realize is we have a Salamander and Frog Festival that is on March 2nd up at the community center. It's at 1 p.m. Our naturalist Stanley Stein puts on that event. We are accepting garden plot reservations right now. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have volleyball, adult volleyball leagues that start up next week at the fitness center as well. Back to little ones, spring break camp at the end of the month of March. Available now. We do sometimes sell out of that, so you do want to sign up early for those if you're interested in having your kids attend that camp. Summer camp registration is on April 6th at 8:30 a.m. at the community center. So that's the day, 8 a.m. at the community center on April 6th. It'll be 9 a.m. the same day online. Everyone asked me when is the adult Easter egg hunt. The adult Easter egg hunt is on April 12th. Tickets go on sale for that March 9th at 8:30 a.m. at the community center, so if you want tickets for that. And that is one that sells out very quickly. People there an hour before they go on sale to wait in line sort of thing. So that will be sold out by 8:35. So it'll be quick, but that is for residents only. You need to have a driver's license for that. You're allowed 4 tickets per household, and it is 21 and older event. We're wrapping up hiring for camp and day camp leaders now, but we're still accepting lots of others for golf course, servers, line cooks, the golf maintenance, starters, all that stuff's on the website, so please check that out. And we are doing a menu change at Aaron and Moses starting March 4th. About 40% of the menu is changing, so some things that you might like are leaving, unfortunately, and other things are coming in. Just keep the menu fresh. We'll do that maybe 3 times throughout the year. If you have any questions, that's all I have.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Sarah?
Good evening, Council. Our February income tax receipts were at a little over 1.7 million. We are down a bit from last year. We're down 243,000. But if you remember last year, we were getting in some of those larger profit tax payments in due to the tax changes. So we might see some of that this year. It might be just a timing thing. We've got to get a little farther into tax season before we really know where we're at. But so year to date, we're at 3.7. Last year, we were at 3.8. So we're down about 3% right now. But we need to see where it goes for the rest of tax season before we make any judgment on the year. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. That's all we have.
Tim?
You're not reporting, Nick. He's just observing.
Okay, next is to move into legislation. First is ordinance 04-2019.
An ordinance amending section 1181 of the codified ordinances of the city of Twinsburg regarding site plan review regulations.
Any discussion?
Motion and
Okay.
a second.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 04-2019.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Furey. Now, is there any discussion?
When this ordinance first came out, there was a resident had concerns regarding the language in that how council reviewed site plans. That language has been removed. This is simply cleaning up some of the recommendations of the planning commission, and was approved and recommended unanimously by them. So, but it doesn't have anything to do with changing any language regarding the charter, and would not require this to go to the ballot.
Any further discussion? I'm going to vote no, so we'll move on. Any further discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Mr. Furey?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellan?
Yes.
Mr. Scaffide?
Yes.
Ms. McFearin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 4-2019 passes 6-1. Next is ordinance 05-2019.
I believe we are
I think
passing
we're
over this
passing
one.
over this.
Oh, yeah, we're going to pass that. Next is ordinance 07-2019.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a purchase agreement to acquire property participating in the FEMA funding program in the Tinkers Creek floodplain.
Next is ordinance 09-2019.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Barbicas Construction Company Incorporated for the 2019 road improvements project.
Next is ordinance 13-2019.
An ordinance accepting the lands and improvements dedicated to public use for Quarry Reserve at Boulder Brook subdivision, accepting the maintenance bond and reducing the performance bond guarantee accordingly.
Next is resolution 16-2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Scratch Off Systems Incorporated to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg occupancy program.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 16-2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McFerrin seconds. Is there any discussion?
The Twinsburg, our top agreement is a Twinsburg occupancy program where a business moves into Twinsburg into an existing facility and bringing new income that can be taxed to the area. This company's bringing an additional $250,000 of income, and we've agreed to a 5-year, 33% income tax abatement to incentivize them to move to Twinsburg.
I think it said it was a $1.3 million payroll with a agreement for
$50,000
$250,000 increase,
yes.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Furey?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scaffide?
Yes.
Mr. Bellan?
Yes.
Resolution 16-2019 passes 7-0. Next is resolution 17-2019.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Spectrum Diversified Designs, LLC, to provide tax incentives under the terms and conditions of the Twinsburg occupancy program.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 17-2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stauffer seconds. Any discussion?
This is similar to the last resolution with Spectrum Diversified Designs coming in with a $600,000 payroll and a commitment to a $250,000 increase in the next 3 years. And it's a 50% for 3 years because they only have a lease for 3 years.
Okay. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellan?
Yes.
Ms. McFearin?
Yes.
Mr. Scaffide?
Yes.
Mr. Furey?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Resolution 17, 2019 passes 7-0. Next is ordinance 18, 2019.
The permanent appropriations ordinance for 2019, approved by council from estimates submitted by the mayor, providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
Next is ordinance 19, 2019.
An ordinance accepting the proposal of Waste Management Incorporated, 6705 Richmond Road, Glenwillow, Ohio, 44139, for the refuse and recycling collection and disposal.
Okay. Next, I'd like to make a motion that we move the council meeting schedule for March the 26th to March the 19th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stauffer seconds. Any discussion?
That is spring break in Twinsburg.
Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, in Northeast Ohio.
Well, most schools.
Okay.
Most.
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellan?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Furey?
Yes.
Mr. Scaffide?
Yes.
Ms. McFearin?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous.
Yeah, so due to the change of the next council meeting, the next Golf Advisory Board meeting will also need to be rescheduled. The new date will be communicated and posted to the city's website. I also wanted to congratulate Twinsburg senior Colin Martin on winning Twinsburg's first district swimming title. I'm sorry, I was a swimmer for 20 years. He won the districts in the 100 butterfly. He also went on to place 3rd in the state of Ohio, so congratulations, Colin. Nothing further this evening, thank you.
Mr. Scaffide.
Thank you. I just want to reflect back in December, the beginning of December 4th, we had our organizational meeting. And at that organizational meeting, council's charged with electing a council president and vice president, and also the boards and commissions that we're going to serve on. That night in December, it was important to this council that we knew before we elected our president that it was important to us that none of us that were serving on council or that are serving on council would be the president the year of a mayoral election if in fact any of us are running for mayor. So the question was asked and the answer was given. The question was asked, I believe, by Mrs. McFearin, Miss McFearin. And it was
Actually, I
referred
think it was
to
Mrs.
Mrs. Stauffer. And Mrs. Stauffer then charged you, Mr. Steele, with providing the answer that you gave her. She didn't want to answer
Actually,
for you. Let me
go ahead.
finish. You asked her to answer for you, and she decided to refer it back to you. And so in your answer, you know, you gave us the answer prior to us voting because it was important to us. And we decided that after you gave your answer, which you said you were not, and probably wouldn't run for anything, and you even referred to your wife in the audience, okay? It was at that point that when the nomination was made and the roll was called, we elected you council president, okay, based on what you had told us. Fast forward to, I think, this week or last week, you know, I happened to pick up, I look at
Sam, you're
Facebook.
shaking.
I'm sick.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sick,
not
Brian.
saying
Looking at Facebook, I look in there and I see that you have pulled petitions and filed petitions to run for mayor. You know, somehow I feel deceived, but I guess I want to ask you the question, do you or don't you believe that you at least owed us a heads up that you were going to go back on your word, and that we elected you in good faith to be our president this year after what you told us, and you decided to change your mind on that. I guess my question is, don't you believe that you at least owed that to us to tell us? It was important.
I changed my mind. I changed my mind because as I talked to Mr. Lammers earlier yesterday on the phone and told him, I've had a lot of people in town ask me to do this. I've been encouraged by a lot of people in town. I guess my answer is no. I changed my mind. And if you really want to know, I guess the other side of it is Ted's not the only game in town. So I think that there's, like I said, I was asked by a lot of people and encouraged by a lot of people to get into the race. It's up in the air. I mean, who knows where we're going to go and what's going to happen. But that's what happened.
So does that give us the opportunity to change our mind?
If you'd like to, go right ahead.
I mean,
but I'm not walking out the door. I'm not resigning. I'm not doing anything. If you want to take me out as the council president, make the motion and then live with the consequences, because I think the residents of the city of Twinsburg will not be happy.
Well, you know what, Mr. Steele, that was not my intention tonight, but you've thrown out a challenge, and I guess I'm going to accept that challenge. I'm going to make a motion that we remove Mr. Steele from the council president seat, and I believe Ms. McFearin is our vice president, and that we replace her with replace him with Ms. McFearin. And I'm asking for a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I do think I need to explain for a second. I certainly understand you changed your mind, but it was important to us as a council. When we did this before, when Mayor Gates ran originally, we had two members running. Mr. Yates was running and Mr. Ceresi. And both of them were in line. They could have been president. Both of them agreed that that was not the position to be in this particular year. So if you're running, being council president, that meant something to us as a council at that time.
Okay.
And that's why we
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. That was two council people running against each other for the mayor. Are you going to ask Mayor Yates to remove himself from as the mayor?
That's a pretty ridiculous question. We've always
really?
Yeah.
You want to remove me as the...
Well, you're the one that misrepresented yourself and didn't have the courtesy. One, you didn't even go and pick up your petitions. You did it really behind everyone's back. And I think that, you know, it would have been a whole different thing if you had talked to people. But
Mr. Maestros, if I may, could you please remind us in the charter if there is anything, because I don't recall that portion of the charter, what the circumstances for removal of a president of council are?
The charter
does not address.
Okay.
There are.
Okay. So I'm not aware of any charter. The mayor says, the law director just says there's nothing in the charter. We've reviewed and redone rules within the last year, and there's nothing in the rules of council that states that you can't be the president of council and run for mayor. And I don't even recall this previous agreement. I wasn't a part of that. So I'm disappointed that I'm just hearing about this now, and I think there's nothing wrong with Mr. Steele remaining as council president, you know, regardless if he chooses to run for mayor or not.
You don't remember the conversation when we...
I remember you bringing your concerns up. I don't recall council adopting a policy.
Okay, and I wasn't sure you remembered
I don't think it was a policy, but I did bring it up as a question before I voted.
One other thing.
It was
Mrs. Stauffer called me a week before the council meeting and asked me when I was at work what I was going to do. And she mentioned that this was a gentleman's agreement among council members. Well, the problem is that was a gentleman's agreement among you on council when I wasn't on council. And I didn't hear about it. I didn't know about it, and I didn't agree to it.
Well, I actually think you did. That's why we voted for you.
Brian, I guess the whole issue is that,
You
know,
did, because that's what we voted.
we asked the question, whether it was a policy of council or not, we asked the question with that concern.
Because we didn't have to vote you in,
And so,
the question I asked.
truthfully, all I expected you to say was that you changed your mind.
Mhm,
And
and I
that,
did.
you know what, that, you know, maybe you're sorry you didn't get to us first or tell us first. Okay, I think that we deserve that courtesy from you. But then you went and kind of turned on and got angry and created a challenge that's creating this whole situation. And that's really not what I expected. I did not come here tonight expecting to make that kind of motion. I truly didn't.
Okay.
I was bringing up something that was of concern to us.
Okay.
So,
If
anybody else
if
have
you-
any comments?
If you feel I stepped on your toes, I apologize. But like I said, I was asked by numerous residents and encouraged by a lot of residents that I should do that. And finally, or I shouldn't say finally, but my wife agreed. So, like I said, she didn't want me to run back at the December meeting. She didn't want me to run for mayor. She didn't want me to stay on council. And I told you the truth. And I asked you, Mrs. Stauffer, to ask her when she was in the back, and you declined. So, whatever you want to do.
I don't, I was not around. I mean, I've been on council less time than you have. I'm one of the new guys. I guess the only comment I would make, just since we are having a discussion regarding it, is, you know, you were in a profession, as was I, where your word is sort of your bond.
Mm-hmm.
I have no issue with you running for mayor at all, or anybody else here. And I suppose only because it was specifically addressed, and you stated that you had no intention of running for mayor, and you were certainly within every right to change your mind, I guess, and again, I wasn't around for the agreement, but I think the point was made that I believe Ms. Stauffer, to paraphrase, said that she didn't feel a political campaign should be run from the council president's seat. I don't know, I felt that there was at least some tacit agreement on your part that, so, I
I'm
suppose
telling you, Scott, I'm telling you what happened. I was asked, and
I'm
I
not
told
receiving
you,
that.
I told you what was going on
Okay.
at the time and why.
Fair enough.
Okay? I wasn't gonna run. In fact, I was kind of, when Maureen called me while I was working, I was taken aback that I would get that phone call. Kind of shocked.
Because it meant something. It meant, as Mr. Barr said, I just felt that it's not in the best interest of our residents to be running a campaign from the seat of council president.
I'm not. I will tell you this.
It's very
Excuse
early.
me,
No,
let me-
no, really.
Let me,
Not-
excuse, hold on. It is not my intent, nor will I let it happen, that I would campaign from up here as the council president. You're going to hear from me as a candidate running, but it will be outside of this office, this chamber, because this is where we do the governance of the city of Twinsburg. And I'm pretty sure I've done a pretty damn good job of running your meetings, getting stuff done, and I'm not going to get into campaigning here in this council chamber. It's not the place. It's not the place. I don't expect Ted to do it either, on either side. It's not the place for us to campaign. We need to go knock on doors or whatever the plans are on his side and my side, and do it outside of here. That's all I can tell you. So. Yes, sir, Mr. Scaffide.
After having this conversation, and based on your comments now, okay, and that's really all we wanted, Brian. We just wanted to know ahead of time. We didn't, we felt like we were deceived. And maybe had you have told us ahead of time what your plan were, and that's fine. We have no right to dictate to you anything other than it was important to us and we asked the question. And but based on your apology now, okay, and your stand on your plan to fulfill this year as the president of council with no politics involved from the podium, Again, it wasn't my intention to make that motion tonight. I felt challenged by you, and I appreciate you coming back and being able to apologize and state your case. So at that point, I would like to rescind my motion.
Thank you. Actually, Ted's the one that should feel challenged.
Let's let it go, Ted.
Okay, so you've withdrawn your motion.
I've withdrawn my motion.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else got anything to say?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Furey.
On this topic or on anything?
I'm done with it.
Okay. I would also like to thank all the residents that came out. We had over 30 people that we interviewed last night and this evening. Also, there was a comment by a resident regarding that we spent a ton of money on Liberty Park. And I'll tell you that that was absolutely the largest acquisition that the city ever did. It was $11.2 million. But the city didn't purchase that out of the general fund. There was a vote of the residents of Twinsburg prior to buying that it specifically for a millage that would disappear after 20 years. So we used the millage to on what the property was based on, and it was actually sold a little bit higher than was expected, and we made up the difference. But the city of Twinsburg voted to purchase that property off property tax. It has since been retired. At the same time, the same amount of property tax that we put in place was identical to what the county taxed the residents of Twinsburg for their Metro Park tax. And when we got into an agreement with them early on to work together on that park, that Metro Park tax was set aside. So Twinsburg residents got to buy the 900 acres for the same price as anybody else, as Macedonia did to go to the Metro Parks. In addition to that, since we bought that property in conjunction with the Metro Parks, they've invested $500,000 for one of the best trails down through the wetlands and the ledges down there by the caves, as well as a $2.4 million nature center, which came out of the county coffers, not out of the city coffers. So there's been at least $3 million of investment from the county in addition to what the city did. And that property tax has been rescinded, so it's no longer being hit to the residents. So the city didn't just out and take $12 million or didn't bond that and pay for it out of the general fund. It was paid for by property tax that was duly voted on the residents about 22 years ago. And again, that same resident asked, where'd the money go? And I will tell you that, Mr. Yates, that was probably the 16th, it actually was the 16th state of the city I've seen. And I thought that you and your staff put together the most comprehensive overview of the finances. In fact, you know, we should all be proud that we can show that we've invested almost $60 million back into the community in the last 6 years. So, and that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Mayor.
Wait, I have something. I have something.
Hey, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to agree with Mr. Furey on that. That was a great presentation you put together. And I would like to congratulate Colin Martin, who happens to be my neighbor. Yeah, so that was mine. Congratulations to Colin. I wanted also to thank the department heads with this whole budget process. I know that with everything that's gone on this past year, it's been particularly difficult or more challenging, and I know that we have really spent a lot of time, and they have spent a lot of time. So I'd like to thank the department heads for trying to put this budget together. I know it's been a tough one, and then also the people who've come out to interview. It's just incredible how many people are willing to serve, and just how educated. And every time they come in, I find I want them to come to Career Day and get their cards. But just a really an amazing group of people coming out to interview, and I'd like to send a special thank you to all of them. So I have nothing further.
I have two things.
Go ahead.
I just came back from our Realtors Political Action Committee President's Circle Conference, and Condoleezza Rice said, she was the 66th Secretary of State, said all citizens need to take responsibility. And I wanted to share that and thank everyone who has in our residents, and also encourage everyone else to step up. And then I didn't want, I don't know where this goes or fits, but I think it might fit under miscellaneous unfinished. So I have run lots of trails all through winters, and I've done winter half marathons, and I really am not familiar with any trails that have been cleared, you know, when it's snowing. So I'm wondering, should the residents, what do we want our residents to expect, and how do I follow up to, what do we do next? Because it was brought up, and I don't know, where do we take this from here?
It is good question.
Well, I know, I mean, for
I don't know who to ask.
the trail in question, we do plow it, so we do maintain it. I mean, we mow it. We don't spread salt on that trail. So I know it still gets traffic in the wintertime. A majority of time it is clear still in the winter, just because that blacktop heats up quicker than anything else, so when snow starts melting, it melts on there too. But during cold spells, there's going to be ice accumulating. I mean, we can talk to service department. I don't know if there's a product that will be safe for the plant life and Tinker's Creek and everything that surrounds that trail. But I think that's really the only thing that we can do at this point in terms of trying to clear it. But I mean, our plow trucks run down it, so I mean.
So would that be the only trail that we're?
Yeah, I don't know that we have any other trails that are wide enough to fit a truck with a plow down it. So I mean, center, you know, our Hickory Trail is mostly cinders and wood. So I mean, it's So that's probably the only real paved trail that we could try to maintain.
So that goes under
service.
Service.
Okay.
Okay.
Service department.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else?
That's it.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just make I guess a couple of comments. You know, a mayor's race is always challenging, and I never want to encourage anyone not to run. I think it's part of the rights that we have as a community. I think it keeps our process in check, and so I think it's something that I never want to discourage Mr. Steele of running for mayor. I think there's probably a number of council up here that have always thought about it, and even back when I was on council, it was something that, you know, I was able to think about, and I was blessed with this opportunity. With that being said, I'm glad that he mentioned that, you know, we shouldn't be campaigning up here. I agree. This is something that, you know, we handle business in a very professional way. We conduct ourselves very professionally. There's a lot of responsibility and a lot of challenges to what we do on, you know, a daily basis in this community. So I'm not, I guess, upset at Mr. Steele. I wish you the best. And it's going to be a long 8 months. So hopefully we can keep things kind of low-key till we get closer, so we can handle our day-to-day operations versus, you know, get caught up in some of the crazy political stuff that we see kind of happening already. But anyway, I'm glad the discussion was had because, you know, I know there was some concerns of council, and but I'm looking forward to this year and what's going to happen at the end of it. So that's all I have.
We done? Okay.
Mr. Maester?
Sarah.
I have nothing further.
Shannon?
No, thank you.
Mr. Michaud?
David?
I feel bad for Sue Clark.
I was
I've been waving her hand here for a while. She
Yeah.
either explain why you can't call on her.
Thank you. I know this isn't like.
Well, no. Wait,
No,
no, you're not allowed to speak.
No.
It's up to the council president. I just wanted
Okay.
somebody to address you one way or another.
No, we're fine. Okay. We're all here, so we don't need to excuse an absent member. So hereby, adjourn the meeting. Let's go home.
Thank you, thank you.